It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da 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 Mii Costume Theory! So it is finally here, the Mii Costume Theory video. I know I said over a month ago, it was like 20 videos ago, that I was gonna do a Mii Costume Theory video, and I just never got to it. I said if, something came up, maybe I would be able to do it, but it would probably be my next video, and then it was gonna be the video after that, the video after that, and then it just got pushed to the side because news always comes out, and at a certain point it was like, I feel like people already know this theory, so it's not urgent, but I said I'd get it done before E3, and then now E3 is approaching, so I probably shouldn't say what my next video is going to be, or promise any videos for sure. I should probably just say, that's a cool subject, maybe I'll make a video on it, or something like that. But anyway, today I am going to do the Mii Costume Theory video. Okay, so first off, for those of you who don't know what Mii Costume Theory is, it is a theory that guesses at which characters might be coming for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter Pass DLC. Specifically, what companies are going to have fighters. This is based off of the cut content from the Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS games to the transition to Smash Ultimate. All of the third-party Mii costumes were cut and they didn't return for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so the idea is that the costumes are going to return alongside fighters from those respective companies. None of the third-party Mii costumes from Smash Wii U and 3DS came back for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so for instance the idea is that, say, Square is going to have a rep in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as one of the DLC characters, and when that character gets revealed, alongside it will be Mii costumes from Square, probably the cut ones from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, such as the Geno Mii costume and the Chocobo Mii costume. So yeah, that's the basic idea here, is that those cut costumes will come back, but also we're going to get a character from that company that those costumes are associated with, and when you download the character, when you download the Mii costumes, if you buy both, then part of the money that you spent is going to go to those companies, and that's why the Mii costumes were cut in the first place, so that those third-party companies can once again make money off of them by reselling them. Alright, so that's the premise of the theory in a nutshell. Let's briefly go over the timeline of events that led to this theory. Okay, so first off, when Super Smash Bros. Ultimate first came out, people noticed that although there were lots and lots of Mii costumes, the third-party Mii costumes were completely cut from the game, and that's when the idea that those costumes might return, but we'd have to pay for them as DLC, first started. Sakurai announced the Fighter Pass, which included Challenger Packs. And each Challenger Pack, we were told, would have a character, a stage, and some music. So they didn't say anything about Mii costumes, so we still thought Mii costumes would probably be DLC, but not alongside the Fighter Pass. The idea of, combining the Fighter Pass Challenger Packs with getting Mii costumes hadn't happened yet. At some point, someone noticed that Mii costumes were listed under things that were buyable or something on one of the Nintendo websites. It said something about Mii costumes being 75 cents. So that's when we knew Mii costumes would in fact be coming at some point as DLC. And then the final piece that really created Mii Costume Theory was that when Joker was released, he was also released alongside some Mii costumes. There were a couple of surprises that came out alongside Joker, things that weren't necessarily part of the Challenger Pack, but came out at the same time that he did. One of them was Stage Builder, another one were the Mii costumes that were coming along with him. Some of those Mii costumes were Persona costumes, which makes sense, Joker's a Persona character, but two of the other costumes were Tails and Knuckles, who are some of the cut Sega Mii costumes from Smash Wii U and 3DS. Now, Joker's game series is owned by Atlus, but Atlus is owned by Sega, so having the Tails and Knuckles Mii costume return alongside Joker meant that Joker, being a Sega-owned character, was getting Mii costumes from the company Sega alongside with his release. Sega also has the Virtua Fighter Mii costumes from Smash Wii U and 3DS, but there's the potential that maybe those didn't sell so well or something, and Sega has decided to replace them with Persona Mii costumes, or possibly the Virtua Fighter Mii costumes will come down the line. Maybe there will be Mii packs that don't coincide with characters from that company. Maybe they'll just make random Mii packs at some point. Maybe the Virtua Fighters will be in that. But so far, the only thing we have is Joker coming out alongside Persona and missing cut Sega Mii costumes. So it's kind of lining up or beginning a pattern. So there's potentially a pattern starting here. I know one isn't a pattern necessarily, but so far we haven't gotten Mii costumes at all, except for alongside when Joker got released, and those costumes were in fact Sega Mii costumes cut from Wii U and 3DS. So yeah, the pattern so far is the character is owned by Sega, and the Mii costumes that came out alongside with him are also owned by Sega. It had also been 6 months since the game came out when Joker was released, and we didn't get any Mii costume packs at any time in those 6 months. So that's a pretty long time if Mii costume packs are just going to release randomly or on some regular schedule or something like that and not have anything to do with the character releases. We went 6 months with nothing. So the guess is that we'll get Mii packs alongside fighters from here on out. Considering so far we've gotten cut Mii costumes from Wii U 3DS back in the game, and they are from the same respective company as the character that they were released alongside, the idea is that more characters from more companies with cut Mii costumes are going to fill up this DLC Fighter Pass. Now, I'm aware that that would greatly narrow down which characters are candidates for spots in the DLC Fighter Pass, because we only have 4 spots left, and we have quite a few companies with cut Mii costumes from Smash, Wii U, and 3DS. However, this wouldn't be the first time that a theory is narrowing down which characters are candidates for the Fighter Pass. These days, it seems like just about everybody's on board with the idea that Spirit's probably deconfirmed characters for DLC. That's not a guarantee, of course, but a lot of people believe that. I am kind of leaning towards that myself. That's where I'm at anyway. So this is just another theory that, yeah, it narrows things down, but it may in fact be true. Spirits might not be, characters in the DLC. They may actually deconfirm characters, and the same thing might be happening with, the cut Mii costumes, that characters are going to fill up the DLC and come at and, bring back the Mii costumes alongside them. Okay, so what are the companies that would have characters filling up this DLC? Well, here's all the characters that are third party that are in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate right now. Sega's out of the way because Atlus owns Joker, and Atlus is owned by Sega, and Joker brought back the Tails and Knuckles Mii costumes. So that leaves Namco, Capcom, Square, and Konami as the only other companies that have third-party characters in Smash right now. However, Konami was not part of Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS, so they don't have any cut Mii costumes. It's possible Konami could get some Mii costumes down the line or something. Maybe they'll make some and they'll sell them in their own, Mii costume pack or something, but they don't necessarily have cut Mii costumes that need to return for this game in the same way that the Tails and Knuckles costume returned alongside Joker. So that leaves Square, Namco, and Capcom to fill up 3 spots for the Fighter Pass, leaving a final spot as kind of a wild card, which could go to a Konami character, and maybe Konami will get some Mii costumes. It's also possible that some other spot, some other company. And there's been a lot of talk about a Microsoft character, a character from Xbox, potentially either Banjo-Kazooie or Steve seem to be the frontrunners, Steve from Minecraft. So that last spot's kind of a wild card spot in the Mii Costume Theory, but 3 of the spots should be filled up by a Square character, a Namco character, and a Capcom character. And that's how we'll return these cut Mii costumes from those companies. So one of the companies that is taking one of these 3 spots is Square. And Square already has a character that's heavily rumored to be coming as DLC for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That character is Erdrick from the Dragon Quest series. So if that rumor is true and Erdrick is coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, when Erdrick comes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it's possible that the cut Geno Mii costume and the cut Chocobo Mii costume could come back alongside with him, and potentially some Dragon Quest Mii costumes or other Square character Mii costumes. If it follows the pattern that's happened with Joker so far, that's what I'd suspect would happen when Erdrick gets revealed. And yes, of course, that would mean that Geno would not be coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a playable character. Instead, that spot would be taken by Erdrick, and Geno would just return as a Mii costume like he was for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Obviously, that bums me out a bit, but hey, if I can get Geno back as a Mii costume, it's better than nothing. I'll just pick up Mii Gunner and start playing that character wearing the Geno costume. I'd be happier with that than to have Geno as just a spirit. So having Erdrick as an already heavily likely and heavily rumored character to be coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's DLC, this is one of the reasons why the Mii Costume Theory is so compelling to me. When I make, my own prediction rosters for the DLC lineup, or I see other people's, prediction DLC lineups, a lot of times they fit Mii Costume Theory without even trying to. People aren't trying to, fit Mii Costume Theory. They just happen to, add characters from Square, from Capcom, from Namco, and it would fit this theory. Another reason this theory is so compelling is the financial side of things. It does make sense for these companies to have planned to sell the Mii Costumes back at some point. That's why they were cut in the first place. And if they were part of the idea of, hey, the Mii Costumes aren't going to be in the base game, but you can sell them later as DLC, then that means they were talking about DLC for Smash with those companies. So it's very possible they were talking about, bringing characters from those companies when they were talking about also bringing the Mii Costumes. And that's how those companies are going to get, some money from Smash. They're going to get the money when people download the character from their company. They're going to get the money when people download the Mii Costumes, or at least a cut of the money or something like that. It just makes financial sense for those companies to be on board with having a character as DLC and having the Mii Costumes be DLC. This idea may even have been one of the ways that Sakurai compelled those companies to put their characters back in Smash. Companies like Square seem pretty stingy about their characters. There was some talk that it was tough to get Cloud back. So one of the ways Sakurai may have convinced Square to bring Cloud back was, hey, we'll also give you a DLC character spot, and you can sell the Mii Costumes again as DLC. So Square might have been on board with Smash because of that. They're going to make quite a bit of money off of the DLC. Okay, so now let's talk about which characters could be coming from these companies to fill up the DLC. Now, this obviously isn't a fully comprehensive list of characters. This is just something I made up. And there's some characters that I even like that aren't on here. For instance, Yoshimitsu is probably my favorite Soul Calibur rep because he would rep both Soul Calibur and Tekken, and I didn't put him on here. I also have Chosen Undead on here, and I know that Artorias is like this big part of the Google theory, so a lot of people are hopeful that Google theory might be right, but I put Chosen Undead on here as the Dark Souls rep instead. And then the other category I probably could have made 10 times bigger. There's tons of characters people talk about. Agumon, Rimu, lots of characters I see all the time that would fall into other. So yeah, I just made this a list of some of the characters people are talking about. And I'm not going to go over each of these characters. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of, what the types of characters from these companies are looking like. So let's talk about Namco first. Namco is really strange because they only have Pac-Man and Smash so far, yet Namco is directly involved with making Smash. Unlike the other companies, they're not really like just handing out characters to Smash, they're actually helping make the game, and they only have Pac-Man as a playable character. This is one reason why a Namco DLC character already felt really likely before Mii Costume Theory was ever a thing. Now, I put Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia and Heihachi on this little list here, and they were both Mii Costumes last time for Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. So what I'm getting at here is that it's also possible some of these Mii Costumes could be upgraded into fighters. The same way the K-Rool Mii Costume was upgraded into a playable K-Rool, it's possible one of these third-party Mii Costumes could also be upgraded into a playable character. I kind of thought another Mii Costume was going to do that, and that hasn't happened yet, so yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe Lloyd, maybe Heihachi could become a playable character this time and have some different Namco Mii Costumes come in alongside them. Tekken's a very popular game series. It's kind of second to Street Fighter in my mind as like the big fighting game. Mortal Kombat's up there too, but Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, they're all up there. So Heihachi would fit, or some other Tekken characters also possible. Jin, something like that is totally possible. The Tales of series is a really popular JRPG, and considering we have Joker already, there's a lot of talk about Erdrick happening. I just felt repping Tales of might make sense. Japan really likes its JRPGs, so getting Persona, Dragon Quest, and Tales of, kind of the big three JRPGs in Smash, would be pretty huge in Japan, so I could see Sakurai potentially going for that. Okay, so moving on to Capcom. Ever since Joker was shown to have a very realistic gun, I thought Resident Evil all of a sudden got a huge boost. So my guess as a Capcom rep is really a Resident Evil rep. There are plenty of other good series Capcom has, however, but my guess is something like Leon or Jill from Resident Evil. I think that would be a really cool character. I think the horror genre of games doesn't really have a rep yet, sort of Castlevania, but Resident Evil's like a huge horror game series and would represent that style of games really well, and I would love to see a Resident Evil rep as the Capcom rep if Mii Costume Theory is correct. Now moving on to Square. I just really think Erdrick is likely our Square rep, or at least like some sort of Dragon Quest protagonist. Lots of leakers are backing that. The data mine that has the code word Brave for one of the characters, I really think Brave is probably Erdrick. So yeah, that's my guess for who the Square-Enix DLC character rep for Mii Costume Theory probably is. Now here's where it gets a little strange. We have a wildcard spot which could be kind of from anybody. Konami has third-party characters already in Smash, but they didn't have Mii Costumes last time. That doesn't mean they couldn't get Mii Costumes this time, it just means they don't have any cut ones that like need to return and could indicate a fighter returning with them. The other problem with Konami I have is that I don't see the characters having as much potential as those other three companies. Not to say Konami doesn't have cool game series, they definitely do. But with Castlevania and Metal Gear Solid already represented in Smash, I just feel like the remaining series aren't as strong. The characters you could pull for it just aren't as strong. I do, however, really like some of these characters. Frogger would be huge in my opinion. That's a really cool retro game star I think does deserve to be in Smash. And I'm a big fan of the Goemon series. I love Mystical Ninja, so I'd be happy with a Konami rep. I just think it's a little less likely. What I think is far more likely is a Microsoft rep. So the big frontrunners are basically Banjo or Steve, and yeah, I think we're probably going to get one of those and it'll fill up this wildcard spot. That's my guess. I also put in some other characters, but if we're going by Mii Costume Theory, there's only one spot for a wild card, and I'm guessing it's going to go to a Microsoft rep. There's been a lot of hints at Banjo and Steve, a lot of stuff backing those two characters, so I don't know which one's going to win out in the end, and Microsoft and Nintendo have been really close lately. E3 is a great place to showcase, what Microsoft and Nintendo are going to be doing together, and having a character join Smash from Microsoft just seems like the time to do it. I think it's going to happen at E3, and that's what I think is going to fill up this wildcard spot if Mii Costume Theory is to be believed. So I often change my mind and don't put this in videos, but here's my guess right now at what I think the full DLC is going to look like. And I am prescribing to Mii Costume Theory with this one, but I was already sort of guessing at this before Mii Costume Theory was a thing. So yeah, this is my prediction right now for who I think is going to fill up the DLC Fighter Pass. Erdrick from Dragon Quest, because I think he's just really likely, he fits Brave, and there's lots of leakers backing him. Banjo-Kazooie I just feel like has a slight edge over Steve right now, so that's what I think is going to be the Microsoft rep, probably going to be shown at E3, fill up this wildcard spot. And again, with Microsoft and Nintendo just so close lately, I feel like something's going to happen there, something with a Microsoft character, and I think Banjo's probably going to be it. Next up, I'm really more guessing at a Resident Evil rep, but I went with Jill because I thought the Fighter Pass needed a female representative, and she's pretty up there for a good Resident Evil rep anyway. Guns don't seem like something they're shying away from after we got Joker. This is a good rep for the horror genre, which isn't really represented in Smash yet, unless you count Castlevania. And Resident Evil is popular in both the East and the West. I just think it's a good rep. I think it's something that Capcom would go with if they had another character in Smash. And finally, the Namco rep, I think, is going to be Lloyd Irving from the Tales of Symphonia game. I just think that a Mii costume getting upgraded the same way K-Rool did seems like something that might happen one more time. It was something I was kind of guessing at quite a bit, and it hasn't really happened as much as I thought it would, so yeah, I think Lloyd might get upgraded. He would also fill out the three big JRPGs being represented in the DLC, Dragon Quest, Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, and Tales of. So I think that's something Sakurai might go for. I think that's something that Japan would be really excited about, having all three of those big JRPGs part of the Smash DLC, so I could just see that happening. I will say Lloyd is the one I struggle the most with. Figuring out which character I want for the Namco rep is really tough for me, so Nightmare's up there too, so is Heihachi from Tekken. I can't really decide exactly what I want, but if I have to guess one, I'm going with Lloyd. So now the big question is, will this theory survive E3? We have E3 just a week away, so will this costume theory actually survive that? We would need two characters announced, that both of which were not from either Square, Namco, or Capcom to kill the theory, because there is that one wildcard spot. So if we get just a Square character, a Namco character, a Capcom character, and then something from something else, like a Microsoft character or something, this costume theory is still in play. Another thing that could kill this theory is that if Mii costumes get released alongside one of these fighters, like say one of these fighters gets revealed and released shortly after, and there's some Mii costumes that come alongside with them, and those Mii costumes don't fit the theory, like if say a Square rep gets revealed and some Mii costumes come out alongside with it, but they're like just random Mii costumes, they're not Square Mii costumes, that could potentially kill Mii costume theory too, or at least hurt it quite a bit. So that's Mii Costume Theory. One of the reasons I'm believing this one so much is because even before Mii Costume Theory was a thing, when I was making prediction DLC lineups of characters, some of those lineups were fitting Mii Costume Theory anyway, so I just think it seems pretty likely even without the theory itself. I know it would greatly narrow down which characters are potential candidates for the DLC, but so does Spirit's deconfirming characters, and Spirit's deconfirming characters is something I think a lot of people eventually have gotten on board with. So yeah, Mii Costume Theory also might be one of those that it seems like it's narrowing down the characters too much, but if it continues, it might end up seeming more and more likely as time goes on. It also makes a lot of financial sense for these third-party companies to want to sell back those Mii costumes and also get one of the DLC spots for a character from their company so that they can make some money. Also, so far, Joker does fit the theory. He has Sega Mii costumes with him, so I know one isn't necessarily a pattern, but so far, Mii Costume Theory is holding up. We went 6 months from when the game was released until Joker came out and had Mii costumes alongside with him, with no Mii costumes. So it seems like Mii costumes are going to show up alongside fighters or when challenger packs get released for the fighter pass. So if those Mii costumes are also from the company that fighter's from, it just seems really likely. Why else go 6 full months without releasing some Mii costumes? This is the theory that I'm personally leaning towards when I make my own predictions for DLC, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm thinking Mii Costume Theory. But if something happens, like some different characters get announced at E3, or some Mii costumes that don't fit the theory get announced at E3 alongside some character that aren't from the same company or something like that, I'll probably throw this one out. Also, if the VR plant leaker tells me something and it doesn't fit Mii Costume Theory, I'm probably going to go with them. They just seem really credible right now, so there's a few things that could make me toss this theory out. But for now, Mii Costume Theory is where I'm leaning. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry it was such a long time coming. Again, I probably shouldn't promise videos. I should just say something like, it would be cool to do a video on that. But yeah, here's Mii Costume Theory. If you guys have any thoughts or comments you want to leave, or any ideas that I didn't cover here about Mii Costume Theory, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I'd love to read it. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.